This was back whenever I got it. I was reassessed, and it was crazy. And I went to the Board of Appeals.
You wanted what?
The Board of Appeals or Adjustments,
Yeah.
and they just like whatever. And I've never got to talk to him personally.
I like my cork one.
And so it's left a very bad opinion.
I'm going to call the City Council meeting of January the 21st, 2014 to order. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Here.
Tennant,
Here.
Schottmeyer,
Here.
Adams,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Marsh,
Here.
Kenyon,
Here,
Mayor Jordan.
Here. Would you join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business tonight is the Mayor's State of the City Address. And in planning for this address, I got a year-end report from my staff. And it was probably one of the best documents I have ever read. Because I will tell you, it was an amazing year, 2013. It was a great year, and it's a great story. And tonight I'm going to tell that story. You see, I love this city. I do. And the staff loves this city, and the council does. We've got a great working relationship with the council and the staff, and great partnerships with the University of Arkansas and the school systems, the Chamber of Commerce, and Northwest Arkansas Labor Council. We've got a great city attorney, a great city clerk. And I want to tell the story of 2013 tonight, and I want you to see the accomplishments that has been done in the last year, and then we're going to talk a little bit about where we're going in 2014, okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council and my fellow citizens of Fayetteville, I am proud to announce that the state of our city is sound. Fayetteville is a unique community with a rich history and a wonderful story. I truly love this city, and I love to tell our story. Our achievements and successes this year have been the result of an excellent partnership between my administration and our City Council, and the dedication and the efforts of our outstanding staff and city employees. Among our shared principles and goals receiving special focus this year have been: 1, to spend wisely and save taxpayers' money while increasing public services. 2, making city services more convenient for our residents. 3, increasing public information about the awareness of those public services. And 4, assuring the inclusion of all residents in the benefits of the services and projects that enhance the quality of life of this great community. Internally, we have made special efforts to secure state and federal funding, reduce waste, improve sustainability, update infrastructure, and maintain a safe and productive working environment for our employees. Fayetteville is blessed with a strong municipal workforce. One city employee who frequently praised the fact that he was a City of Fayetteville employee was Judge Rudy Moore, Jr. Judge Moore honorably served with distinction as the Fayetteville Municipal Judge and then the Fayetteville District Court Judge for over 22 years until his death on April the 11th, 2013. We recognize his service to this great city as we look at 2013 and lead into 2014. We also recognize Fayetteville Municipal Court staff who banded together and took a positive approach to dealing with this immense loss while succeeding and many transitions that occurred in an already existing high-volume work environment. Fayetteville is growing. The number of jobs here is consistently on the rise, and we are nationally recognized for our community's innovative initiatives. The University of Arkansas has dramatically increased enrollment and is further establishing itself as one of the top public research and academic institutions in the nation, while the city and the university's relationship continues to strengthen. We have the best schools in the state. Our medical facilities are outstanding. We are blessed with excellent local businesses and a loyal customer base that supports our local economy. And we are in the midst of Fayetteville's most rapid expansions of infrastructure in our history. We focus on becoming a community of livable neighborhoods that meets present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Despite our rapid growth resulting in increased demand for public services, we have been good stewards of the taxpayers' money and again adopted a balanced budget, reduced our outstanding debt, and strengthened our financial reserve funds. Economic growth is reflected in total sales tax collections, up 3.8% compared to 2012 as of the end of October. Based on the strong operating results of 2012, the City Council approved a salary package based on a 2013 survey of the market, which works to assure that job compensation for our municipal workers is more consistent with the marketplace. The Fayetteville economy continues to recover from the Great Recession of 2008, and we are optimistic of continued economic vitality. We added over 800 new private sector jobs in 2013. Existing manufacturing firms have announced planned investments of more than $50 million in plant and equipment expansions and upgrades, which will result in additional good-paying jobs for our residents. Another sign of our continued economic recovery from the recession of 2008 is that 805 building permits were processed last year. More than 2,800 mechanical, electrical, and plumbing permits were processed, and over 20,000 inspections were made, which is a 151% increase from 2012. 911 calls increased last year by 13.44%, and calls for service increased 2%. There have been a 6% increase in calls for fire service over last year, and a 20% increase in calls for service since 2010. We've had a continued increase in the number of calls for fire service, which amounts to a 54% increase from 2003 through 2013, such that the Fayetteville Fire Department is handling close to 3,000 more calls each year, an addition of 8 calls per day. But even with that increase, our Fayetteville Fire Department still makes house calls, including free fire inspections and installation of free residential fire alarms. Our fire department is working to expand awareness of the benefits of public safety service, focusing on an increase in diversity in our fire service workforce. Our community fire education program engaged 7,400 children and 2,600 adults last year in education programs. We had our first Fayetteville Family Fire Safety Day and expanded and improved the fire training program with over 17,000 staff hours of formal training in 2013. The police department has expanded recruiting efforts through various resources and is dedicated to reaching high-caliber recruits, including additional women and minorities. The agency is partnering with community and academic organizations which it believes to be rich in potential candidates. Police administrators earned their Certificate of Leadership in the UA Diversity Inclusion Program. CALIA accreditation is just one example of the Fayetteville Police Department's commitment to its pursuit of professional excellence. We are the only city in Arkansas to have adopted the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code for residential construction, including a HERS rating. which serves as a model for the entire state of Arkansas. The Fayetteville Municipal Airport took the fixed-base operation in-house last year. Our airport was the third busiest airport in the state of Arkansas last year. We hosted the Air Race Classic and the annual cross-country air race for women aviators. And twice during the year, we hosted the Commemorative Air Force's Flying Bombers. Our citizens, our great citizens, voted to authorize bonds to expand the Walton Arts Center and develop the Fayetteville Regional Park. And we selected the company to provide design and engineering services for the Regional Park Master Plan. We made many improvements to our parks in 2013, including renovation of the concession and restroom at Walker Park Baseball Complex, Wilson Park Tennis Court renovation that included ADA accessible parking and access in conjunction with the project, Mount Sequoia Gardens improvements, and ADA accessible parking and access and replacement of existing asphalt entry drive, and completion of the Wilson Park pool renovation. Working with regional partners, we also instituted our advanced wayfinding signage program last year. A major initiative undertaken in 2013 was the migration of our old and outdated email system to a new system to help standardize technology and equipment at the city. We instituted technological improvements to enhance communications internally and between the city and the public, and to make customer payment options more efficient and user-friendly. We instituted a paperless agenda item management system in 2013. Moreover, Fayetteville was named the #2 digital city in the nation for our population category at the National League of Cities Conference. Our transportation division started a program to supplement the traditional asphalt overlay process by utilizing a method called microsurfacing, a more cost-efficient and time-efficient way to resurface roadway pavement. In 2013, approximately 4.7 miles of city streets were resurfaced using this new method, and 6 miles of hot mix asphalt was applied for a total of almost 11 miles of pavement resurfacing. We installed new drainage infrastructure, curb and gutters, sidewalks, retaining walls, and approximately 11,000 feet of sidewalks were constructed citywide last year. Several other infrastructure projects include video detection upgrades at Sycamore and College, Drake and Garland, Leverett and Maple, and Shepherd and College. We replaced a failing bridge at Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard between East Avenue and South College Avenue, and renovated the old railroad trestle bridge and the installation of the adjacent tunnel structure under the existing railroad overpass for the Challaghee Trail. We have continued to facilitate sidewalk connectivity in Fayetteville to enhance walkability. Moreover, this city council addressed public concerns last year by enacting a new booting and wheel clamp regulations for private parking lots. We constructed 5.5 miles of new trails in 2013, the highest mileage total in the history of our trails program. This includes approximately 3.8 miles constructed by approximately $5.2 million in grant funding. We began construction of the Highway 71B flyover bridge project and completed construction on Cato Springs Road, the city's first roundabout, and Highway 265 between Mission and Joyce Boulevards. We continued development of the new drainage criteria manual, which will include a chapter on low-impact development and new requirements for water quality and protection of property downstream from developments. In 2013, staff provided approximately 30 tours to nearly 500 people at our wastewater treatment plants, the Woolsey wetland, and the biosolids management site. Attendees included students from elementary, middle, and high schools, college students, educators, bird watchers, and other professionals. In July, Arkansas Audubon designated Woolsey Wet Prairie as Arkansas's 32nd important bird area. With less than 1% of our state's original wetland prairies remaining, this milestone highlights Woolsey's value as a natural resource not only for Northwest Arkansas, but statewide. Adjacent to the Woolsey Wet Prairie, we also initiated a plan for the restoration of the historic Woolsey Farmstead. We completed the Lake Sequoia dredging project and performed dam maintenance at Lake Fayetteville, Lake Sequoia, and Lake Wilson, and performed a record amount of hydrant maintenance and upgrades. The City Council approved form-based code amendments, which will make the use of more traditional town development patterns, mixed use, and pedestrian-friendly development more developer-friendly and feasible. This includes modification to accommodate recent market demand for single-family homes on smaller lots. Several city events benefited our community, including the tree and shrub giveaway at the annual Celebration of Trees, National Kids to Parks Day, Parkapalooza Festival, Yvonne Richardson Community Center's second annual Celebrate Our Kids banquet that raised $30,000 for the center, the Senior Giving Tree, Lights of the Ozarks, and the new Ozarks Holiday Walk down Block and Dixon Street, and our many city recreational opportunities. Over 30,000 people participated in recreation events through our parks and recreation department programs last year. The Yvonne Richardson Community Center was able to make major facility renovations to the center through grants and donations from many community donors. We've installed park, trail, and parking lot signage and location maps for each park. We expanded adult recreation programming to offer more recreational opportunities for adults, including a new Incrediball League, as well as nearly doubling participation levels in adult co-ed, kickball, and volleyball. Our Community Development Block Grant program last year led to 17 rehabilitation projects, assistance to 146 residents with transportation needs, and 7 grant awards to nonprofit entities. Rangers Pantry garnered 17,000 pounds of dog and cat food that helped 677 dogs and cats stay with their families. We instituted the Energy Efficiency and Weatherization Kit program and have already distributed 377 weatherization kits. We also completed the final Weddington Corridor Plan, sold the Old Mexican Original plant site, and we plan to bank that money for additional community advancement, and worked on a master plan for Eastgate Plaza area with input from the public. In 2013, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the City of Fayetteville Television Center. We continued our television center upgrades, including more cost-efficient service at higher technical quality for viewers, and we are providing higher quality internet streaming for both the government channel and public access television, as well as improving the usability of the studio production area. We enhanced public access services by expanding class offerings to both basic and advanced levels and expanded hours of operation. City Media Services designed, specified, and installed a remote recording system in room 326 that improved meeting coverage, increased safety for our staff assigned to meeting coverage, and decreased staff time necessary to record and prepare meeting video for distribution. New digital signage displays to enhance civic awareness of city services were added at the solid waste building and the new accounts area of City Hall. Our outstanding Fayetteville Public Library continues to increase its collections and its services to the public. This has been the 5th consecutive year of increased participation in the Fayetteville Public Library Summer Reading Program, workshops, speakers, and events. The library acquired new digital services to increase accessibility, including a music downloading service, digital magazines, downloadable audio books, all in addition to growing ebook collections and offering iPads, e-readers, and laptops for checkout. In 2013, well over 500,000 people visited our public library. There were over 1.3 million online visits to the library last year. There were 1,467 library programs with over 70,000 program attendees. Over 1.2 million physical materials were checked out, and there were over 100,000 digital downloads last year. Our animal services successes are notable, including a reduction in the euthanasia rate to 7%, and we increased the amount of pets returned to owners by 8% over 2012. Staff also initiated free training and behavior classes for the public. The public is instrumental in these successes, and we thank the many residents who gave so many homeless animals a loving home last year. The people of Fayetteville are our greatest asset. We are blessed with many residents who contribute to our community in a variety of ways. Whether it is in volunteering time with the City of Fayetteville or local nonprofits, our contributions to strengthening our school district, the University of Arkansas, or one of our hospitals, our citizen innovation rests in our minds, in our hands, and in our hearts. Fayetteville, Arkansas last year was again recognized as a Volunteer Community of the Year in Arkansas, making it the 5th year in a row that the people of Fayetteville have been honored with that recognition to dedicated public service. Last year, over 38,000 volunteers contributed 657,000 hours of service and made a volunteering economic impact of over $14.5 million. The USAA and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation's Hiring Our Heroes program announced the top 10 best places for veterans jobs list, with Fayetteville earning number 7 ranking. The next thing I want to talk about tonight is wise money management. I have said before, will say again, that the most important thing that an elected official can do is properly manage the taxpayers' money. And in our ongoing efforts to save taxpayer money, we have engaged in extensive research and filed applications for grants to fund the fire department, purchase wildland firefighting protective gear, receive cost recovery for hazardous materials incident responses, and engaged in an interlocal agreement for hazmat service fees. The fire department received an Assistant to Firefighters grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, a forcible entry Simulator Equipment and Training Grant Award from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, a Carbon Monoxide Alarms Equipment Grant Award from Kitty Corporation, a FireWise Community Grant, and a joint receipt of a grant from the Arkansas Fire Prevention Commission for the Youth Fire Intervention Task Force. The police department saved approximately $100,000 of its 2013 overtime budget by utilizing time trades and creative scheduling and staffing procedures, as well as the receipt of approximately $200,000 in reimbursed salaries and overtime expenses for special events. The police department also recently received a COPS hiring program grant for the funding of 3 police officers, which includes a 4-year 75-25 matching grant for a maximum of $375,000 by the Department of Justice. These officers will be utilized to expand our school resource officer program, and they will be responsible for providing security and crime prevention services to our schools. Through an award of $198,000 2013 STEP grant, the police department worked over 822 hours of patrol directed toward impaired driving and provided funding to the department's community-oriented policing division to take part in a number of presentations and community events during which 215 child safety seats were given to citizens who otherwise could not afford them. Even small changes bring cost savings, such as our conversion of 7 mowers to propane, which saved over $5,200 last year. The City of Fayetteville Parks and Recreation has a superior volunteer program and volunteer network, and worked on a variety of projects that included trash pickup, wood debris removal, invasive vegetation removal, and planting of native trees, shrubs, and grasses. Parks and Recreation volunteers logged over 7,000 hours last year, equivalent to $132,000 and 875 work days. We received a total of $381,000 in grant funding for construction of active transportation infrastructure. received a $260,000 Transportation Alternatives Program grant through the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission to create a bikeway, and received an $81,000 grant from the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department's Safe Routes to Schools program for construction of a sidewalk and trail bridge over Clabber Creek. We received a $40,000 grant from the Endeavor Foundation for the construction of 3 bikeways that link Razorback Greenway to public parks and schools. The city received a $10,000 matching and $15,000 in-kind grant from the Curbside Value Partnership, which was used to kick off the Recycle Something marketing campaign. We received a $30,000 ADEQ Boston Mountain Recycling Grant for indoor recycling containers for apartments, a $25,000 ADEQ Boston Mountain E-Waste Recycling Grant for continuation of the E-Waste Coupon Redemption Program, and $1,000 for Keep America Beautiful Cigarette Litter Prevention Program for Dixon Street. Production of in-house high-level television spots for a Recycle Something campaign saved the city well over $40,000. We managed completion of an energy efficiency lighting upgrade at Fire Station 2, which will save $1,000 per year in electricity costs. And our purchase of utility bill management software will better enable the city to track our utility usage. The city received approximately $1.3 million in new federal aid transportation funding in 2013. Other grants include a State of Arkansas Historic Preservation Grant from the Governor's Office for $1,200, and a $100,000 award by the National Endowment for the Arts for a pedestrian and art-centered redesign of School Avenue. In the removal of the Tyson's industrial facility on Huntsville Road, we saved over $100,000 by selling the building in an online auction rather than paying a contractor to remove the structure. And our utilities department saved over $268,000 by using in-house design and construction management staff. An energy-efficient upgrade to the second level of Meadow Street parking deck netted a rebate check of almost $4,000. Staff is also continuing to upgrade the upgrade project of rebuilding, powder coating, and reassembling all parking meter housings. Performing this work in-house resulted in a total savings of over $20,000. The sale of obsolete meter bodies through GovDeals resulted in over $57,000, which was $42,000 more than through normal methods of metal recycling materials programs. The next point I want to talk about tonight is our recognition and honors. This great city can tout many honors in the last year, and I will highlight just a few. First, longtime volunteers with the city of Fayetteville were recognized this past year for their excellence. Jim Cherry was awarded the honor of Arkansas State Soccer Association Volunteer of the Year, and Dave Bowman received the honor of Parks, Recreation and Parks Association Individual Volunteer of the Year. We have several city staff who have been elected to state association leadership positions. The city clerk of Fayetteville, Sandra Smith, is the president of the Arkansas City Clerks, Recorders, and Treasurers Association. City Fleet Director Jesse Beeks is president of the Arkansas Public Fleet Managers Association. Harlan Henson is the president of the Backflow Prevention Association of Arkansas. Fire Chief David Dayringer is president of the Northwest Arkansas Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association. And Val Moses is secretary-elect of the Code Officials of Arkansas. The Southeast Fayetteville Community Center received the Arkansas Recreation and Parks Association Group Volunteer for the year of 2013. Last year, the city was awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Governmental Financial Officers Association. The city was also awarded Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its 2013 budget from the Governmental Financial Officers Association. This is the 24th consecutive year that these two awards have been made to the city and demonstrate the meritorious work performed by the city's accounting and budgeting divisions. The city won the Arkansas Recycling Coalition Government Recycler of the Year Award for the state of Arkansas. The Arkansas Wildlife Federation, in cooperation with the National Wildlife Federation, presented the city of Fayetteville with the 2013 Rex Hancock Wildlife Conservationist of the Year Award for outstanding contributions to wise use and management of the nation's natural resources. The City of Fayetteville Fleet Division was again awarded recognition as one of the 100 best fleets in North America. Fayetteville received 4 honorable mention recognitions in the City Business 2013 City of Distinction Awards. These honors recognize Fayetteville for our Center of Excellence in the Workforce Development category, our Streamside Protection Ordinance, our Low Impact Development Manual in the Green Energy Conservation Initiatives category, Block Avenue Improvements in the Main Street, Downtown, and Historic Preservation category. And our city's staff work on our city website is honored in the category of technological advancements. YRCC received a Community Service Award from the Kappa Kappa chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. Underwood's Fine Jewelers shows YRCC as one of their Fab Five organizations. Wilson Park was awarded the Best Public Park by Cityscapes Magazine, and Gully Park was a runner-up. Wilson Park Tennis Courts was a runner-up for the Best Tennis Courts in Northwest Arkansas by Cityscapes Magazine, and the Fayetteville Multi-Use Trail Network was voted the Best Municipal Trail System in Northwest Arkansas by Cityscapes Magazine. The City of Fayetteville has been awarded National American Bloom honors, including 5 blooms in 2013 and special recognition for environmental efforts. Last year was the 18th year that Fayetteville has been honored as a Tree City USA, and we received the Outstanding Achievement Award by the United States Conference of Mayors Livability Awards program for our city's biosolids program last year. The Fayetteville Public Library was awarded 2013 Best of the Best Library winner by Northwest Arkansas Media, and the 2013 Best of Northwest Arkansas Best Library by Cityscapes Magazine. The Fayetteville Historic Commission awarded the Mayor's Award for Outstanding Service and Historic Preservation to the Government Channel for the Fayetteville History Minute Series. The Fayetteville Police Department was successful in achieving the national accreditation last year from the Commission on Accreditation from Law Enforcement Agencies. Last year, our Central Dispatch Center received Project 33 recertification with the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, and is currently the only dispatch center in Arkansas to be Project 33 certified. The City of Fayetteville was awarded a Keep America Beautiful UPS Foundation Community Tree Planting Grant to establish a community orchard for local consumption in an underserved area. At that time of that application in early 2013, Arkansas ranked number 1 in the nation in percentage of food insecure households, and 37% of Washington County children were food insecure. This project, approved by this council, and the apple, pear, and pecan orchard will be planted in February of 2014. We are going to address food insecurity in this city. And ecological measures is the next point I want to talk about tonight. We continue to work in ways responsible to improving our environment by integrating sustainability efforts throughout our organization, knowing that even multiple small measures count for overall ecological success. The use of water fountains and reusable bottles, adding hybrid vehicles to our fleet, increasing the use of electronic documents to replace paper waste, establishing an employee sustainability working group, performing an energy upgrade at our city's television center, installing save-a-watt timers at city facilities, and participating in a building energy audit through Greenways Initiative all add up for savings for our city and our taxpayers. In exchange for easements for the Frisco Trail Southern Extension, the city crews demolished a concrete block building owned by the Farmers Cooperative, and over 700 tons of concrete slabs and blocks from that building were crushed and recycled as base material on site. The City of Fayetteville is actively involved in the e-waste cleanup and coordinated a community campaign with the state of Arkansas to encourage the recycling of electronic equipment, and we actively engage in reuse options through our auction program that, in turn, puts more money in the municipal system for additional public service needs. Our water treatment plants Beneficial use of treated effluent through irrigation kept approximately 66.2 pounds of phosphorus from entering our beloved White River last year. This program kept nearly 98% of biosolids from being put in a landfill and reduced a total number of 200,000 fewer miles in truck travel than 2010. We sold approximately 2,460 tons of fertilizer, collecting almost $40,000. Our trail and sidewalk crews saved topsoil to reuse, and our overlay crew reclaimed approximately 3,000 tons of asphalt millings that were sold back to the vendor and used in the production of new asphalt. Our street sweeping program resulted in approximately 1 million pounds of debris collected last year to reduce pollution entering the stormwater system, and brush and tree limb trimmings were chipped and reused as mulch in landscaped areas. Fleet converted 4 pickups to propane and small trucks, with small trucks saving 36% over gasoline and bigger trucks saving 20% over diesel and 33% over gasoline. Our conversion of 11 units to propane will displace 5,135 gallons of gasoline and 4,526 gallons of diesel each year, and 64,400 fewer pounds of greenhouse gases will be emitted. Central Dispatch has changed their dispatch log review to an electronic process. The use of electronic measures over paper ones just in our police department resulted in a 12% reduction in their paper usage, and this and other departments' procedural changes to digital instead of paper have enhanced public service and accessibility. The Fayetteville City Council passed an ordinance creating Arkansas's first property-assessed clean energy district for the entire city. The city worked with many stakeholders on Uniform Development Code upgrades supporting urban agriculture, installed 41 bike racks last year along Dixon Street and in and around the downtown square, and partnered with Feed Fayetteville to collect 1,428 pounds of food for our community members that are in need. We added additional Green Your Life programs that are broadcast on the Fayetteville government channel, installed the first electric vehicle charging station in a parking lot near City Hall, and we developed the Recycle Something campaign to increase community commitment to recycling. We opened the new Marion Orton Recycling Drop-Off Center last year, increased service levels for apartment recycling, and expanded the commercial glass recycling program in the entertainment district. Habitat for Humanity of Washington County received over 14,000 square feet of insulation donated by Owens Corning based upon the amount of glass the city of Fayetteville recycled through this commercial glass recycling program. Now, what's ahead for us? What are we to look for in the coming year? I want to name some of the things that I want us to approach this year. I want us to look at. I want us to commit ourselves to. This is the vision I want to lay out tonight, thanks to the input of the staff, the city council, and the great partners that we have. In 2014, this year, the city of Fayetteville will be adding a new content management system that will not only improve our city's website, but improve our work product and ability to continue to assure an informed citizenry. We will be increasing public awareness of programs, services, and events and other offerings. We've added and will continue to add more public services on our city's website and increase outreach to the public through social media. The city's website will add a My Government Services site this year that will be an interactive map showing users allowing users to pinpoint services available to a specific address. We will be replacing the outdated audio-visual and presentation technology in City Hall, meeting rooms, and converting the City of Fayetteville Television Center from a standard definition analog video system to a high-definition SDI system. We will also conduct an intensive campaign to further increase awareness and use of public access television services. The Fayetteville Public Library made an offer for the old city hospital site, and in 2014, we'll begin the master plan phase 2, design and public input activities. The library will also be replacing 145 aging public use computers and upgrading its public internet services. The city will increase sidewalk production in 2014. We will continue excellence in needed infrastructure improvements and additions, establish and implement a plan for boulevard median maintenance, identify additional priority drainage projects, implement measures to best manage stormwater runoff, and further develop our traffic coordination system through the use of more sophisticated control and monitoring elements. We plan to convert additional fleet to propane, explore electric or hybrid vehicles to patrol the city multi-use trail system, and consider hybrid or other alternative fuel vehicles when replacing or expanding our vehicle fleet. We will continue to work with the University of Arkansas to move forward on the goal of rebuilding Fire Station 2, create a carbon monoxide detector program, have a courtroom automation and security system upgrade, and conduct the regional park design and engineering. Construction of the Fayetteville Regional Park is predicted to begin during the fourth quarter of 2014. Parks and Recreation has the framework in place for a tennis program for the youth and adults to be implemented in phases in 2014. Lake Fayetteville Softball Complex will be updated, including correction of field drainage, improved irrigation and turf, and updated restrooms and concession stand. Improved parking at Veterans Memorial Park is also planned. We will begin construction of the Entertainment District Spring Street parking deck, and we'll complete the wastewater long-range master plan and collection system model this year. We will continue updating the city's growth and development policies, including City Plan 2030 and adopted neighborhood master plans, update the city's downtown design standards, evaluate new zoning districts for parks and open space, evaluate new smaller scale institutional zoning district for neighborhood scale institutional uses, audit our codes for sustainable practices and rules, and evaluate future neighborhood plan locations and other long-range planning programs. This city continues to grow and prosper. We are a destination city, one in which people desire to stay and raise a family. Fayetteville is simply a great place to live, to work, to study, to play, and raise a family. The biggest challenge that we will face in the next year is the state of increased public service demands and resulting increase in workload and staff time. While our population has grown and have added many new programs and services, we have held the line on costs. The question now before us is how long our existing numbers of employees can keep that pace. Our staff has done a superior job of employing creative measures and time balancing to meet the needs of all our residents. But a well-functioning government always looks to make sure that we have proper staffing to serve our city and public. We will be looking next year at our workload to staffing ratio to further assess the public service needs of Fayetteville. We will increase our energy efficiency of city buildings and identify additional cost-effective opportunities and potential incentives. And our utility bill management software will better enable the city to track utility usage for over 400 monthly city utility accounts. We will move toward the next complete neighborhood planning process and continue to evaluate the feasibility on the Houses at Willow Bend project, an environmentally sensitive, energy-efficient, owner-occupied affordable housing project located in an infill neighborhood with convenient access to work, education, and cultural amenities. The city will put a plan in place for increasing diversion of materials from the waste stream, and we'll be expanding our trash and recycling facility. In 2014, we will begin the construction. In fact, this begins this coming month. We will begin construction of the Van Ness Drive extension, design plans for the Rupel Road extension, which we plan to start construction on in 2015, and complete the restoration of the Maple and Lafayette Street historic bridges. We will construct 4 miles of trails open all Fayetteville segments of the Razorback Regional Greenway, and complete revisions to the drainage criteria manual and the minimum street standards. We will complete the West Fork of the White River Stream Restoration Project. We will begin the EPA Wetland Stream Assessment Project and apply for FEMA Community Rating System to reduce flood insurance costs to all residents. Partners for Livable Communities designed Fayetteville in the top 10 nationally for America's most livable communities for cities under 100,000. It is clear why Fayetteville ranks on several lists as a top city in the nation, including Livability.com ranking of Fayetteville as the 63rd top livable city in the United States, as well as the 9th top college town. Parade magazine highlighted Fayetteville, Arkansas as one of the most beautiful cities in the nation, and the Southern Living selected Fayetteville as one of the South's best college towns for 2013. During the 2013 International Compassion Games, Fayetteville came in first in the Random Acts of Kindness category, placed 5th in the number of volunteers participating, and 5th in the number of hours showing compassion. You see, my friends, ours is truly a great city, an historic city, a vibrant city, an academic city, an innovative city, an environmentally conscious and compassionate city, and a city in which our people make us who we are. And as Walt Whitman wrote so well, a great city is that which has the greatest men and women, where the citizen is always the head and the ideal, and where elected public officials are their faithful agents in service. That is my state of the city, and I want to repeat again, the state of this city is very sound. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I will have a drink of water. Thank you all. You're very kind.
Now we have a meeting.
Now on with the meeting. On the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
I am sorry. Oh, I am sorry. Kit, you have a special presentation to make. The presentation of the City of Fayetteville Martin Luther King Brotherhood Award. Kit Williams.
Yes, I do, Mayor, but I would like to say one thing before that. I would like to thank you and the City Council for your hard work and leadership that has resulted in all of the accomplishments and awards that the city has received last year, and I look forward to serving with you all in the upcoming year.
Thank you, Kit.
Thank you.
Ever since I became Fayetteville City Attorney in March of 2001, it has been my honor and pleasure to select a City of Fayetteville employee to receive the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Brotherhood Award. The Brotherhood Award is given in recognition to the city employee whose service to our community best exemplifies Dr. King's dream of equality, justice, and brotherhood. This year's honoree joins a distinguished list of city employees who have embodied Dr. King's dream and have helped fulfill his legacy of hope and service to community. This year's honoree also has exemplified Dr. Martin Luther King's spirit of equality and legacy of service. She has managed one of our most important community outreach facilities and worked diligently and creatively to expand its services to even more of our citizens. Tanisha Geist, as director of the Yvonne Richardson Community Center, has successfully increased participation in existing community outreach programs like Kids Night and Summer Fun for Kids. Just last Friday, the Northwest Arkansas Times showed Tanisha in action, tutoring local students at the Yvonne Richardson Community Center study area. Tanisha also works with LifeSource to bring to the community a hot meal and a bag of groceries on the last Monday of every month. Tanisha manages the annual Easter egg hunt, Thanksgiving bingo dinner, and community Christmas party all with hot meals and gifts for our community. The Fayetteville City Council and the mayor certainly deserve much credit for funding the Yvonne Richardson Center and allowing Tanisha the opportunity to serve our community. Tanisha Geist has helped to add new programs such as Kids Crops Youth Gardening, which helps teach our children about growing their own vegetables at the Yvonne Richardson Community Center's garden. During this award-winning program, the children not only learn how vegetables are grown and harvested, but also get to take fresh, nutritious vegetables home for their families. The garden was so successful that surplus vegetables were given to other community members. Thus, the Kids Crops Youth Gardening Program taught our youth how hard work can yield not only healthful nutrition and nourishment for our bodies, but also nourishment for our souls by giving to others. Now, if Tanisha will come forward, it is my honor to present the 2014 City of Fayetteville Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Brotherhood Award to its worthy recipient, Yvonne Richardson Community Center Director Tanisha Geist.
This is really awesome. When I was told that I was going to get this award, I thought, well, I don't really know what I did to get this award. I'm just doing what's right. So to be considered for this award and synonymous with Martin Luther King and his legacy, I'm very honored to get an award such as this. I have a lot of support, and I accept this award for all of those who believe in equality and those who are trying to do what's right and trying to fulfill their purpose, which I believe is giving back. So I accept this for those people because honestly, I think I was just the one that was chosen, but there's a lot of people who were a part of making this happen. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I would like to say that the first time I met Tanisha, she was in the office applying for the job, and when I met her, I knew she was going to be a fit, and she has done a tremendous job at the Yvonne Richardson Center because not only is she a great staffer, she has a great heart, and she has a real heart for people and an understanding for them and where they are and what their needs are. And Tanisha, I certainly want to thank you for your service and congratulate you on that award. You certainly deserve it. Thank you. Okay. On the consent agenda, number one, the approval of the January 7th, 2013 City Council meeting minutes. Number two, bid number 13-59, NAFCO, a resolution to award bid number 13-59 and to approve a purchase of wildland fire gear backpacks from NAFCO in the amount of $22,319.64 and to approve a budget adjustment. Number three, bid number 13-59, emergency vehicle specialist. A resolution to award bid number 13-59 and to approve the purchase of wildland fire gear, which includes helmets, goggles, gloves, shelters, coats, and trousers from emergency vehicle specialists in the amount of $115,190.86. And four, Gulf State Distributors, a resolution to approve the purchase of ammunition needed by the Federal Police Department during the 2014 during 2014 from Gulf State Distributors in the amount of $50,770.35 pursuant to a State of Arkansas ammunition contract.
Motion to accept.
I will entertain a motion. I have a motion and a second to pass consent agenda as read. Is Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet,
Yes.
Shopmire, Adams,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Okay, under unfinished business, number one, vacation, 13-4516, Brenda Drive Court and Walton Street, University of Arkansas, an ordinance to approve the University of Arkansas's petition to vacate Brenda Drive, Court Street, Walton Street, and a 30-foot wide alley, all within property owned by the University of Arkansas. Now, that was tabled, went to the Transportation Committee, and what comments do we have?
Yes, that's right, Mayor, and we voted on a recommendation. It was a unanimous vote to restrict access on the northern border of the property.
So we need an amendment to restrict access on the northern part of the property, correct? Or is this already,
Well, to be honest, Mayor, I'm not sure of the procedure.
I'm not either. Kid, what's
I
the
think-
procedure?
I think probably what we would need to do is change one of the conditions of approval. My understanding, and we'll ask the university to comment on this, is that they really don't want condition number 1 anymore, which says that, it talks about Exhibit C, which is no longer in existence. If you want to come up here. And so I would suggest that, is that correct? You don't, at this point, you agree with what the suggestion was by the Transportation Committee, but you do not want to have an actual document showing a scheme or how you're going to design the lot.
That's correct. The exhibit that had been in the packet and been referred to as Exhibit C from the beginning was a conceptual site plan just to show how our idea was of how this would come together. As of the street committee meeting last week, that exhibit is no longer reflecting the way that that's going to be designed, so it no longer makes sense to point to that as a condition of the ordinance. So I think if you're going to suggest an amendment that's going to restrict access to HOTS, that would be the condition, and we no longer need to have the one that was already in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. See if this meets with your approval. It would be removing 1, which is talked about Exhibit C, which we don't need anymore, to be replaced with, there shall be no entrance or exit to HOTS from this parcel now or in the future without express city council approval in the form of a resolution. Would that meet the requirements that you would like?
Yes.
Then that would be what I would suggest. You would change condition 1 to that condition.
So
I'd
moved.
like to second.
Okay, so I want to be sure we're removing the entrance to HOTS or exit to HOTS from the project, closing it off, right? Is that pretty much?
Yes, there shall be no entrance or exit to HOTS from this parcel now or in the future without express city council approval in the form of resolution. So that in the future, city council could come back if they believed it was
Okay.
best at that point in time to allow an entrance or exit and grant you one through resolution.
Yes, sir. And at this time, the development would go forward with no entrance or exit from HOTS.
Okay. Has everybody got that? Okay. What public comment do we have on that? And please introduce yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening. My name's David Boddington. I'm speaking for myself as well as my wife tonight, Deborah. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. We live on Hotz Drive in Ward 4. We'd like to thank you for your time and attention you've given to ordinance vacation number 13-4516. We'd like to thank you for sending the ordinance to the Transportation Committee. We believe that the committee's recommendation to not allow any vehicle or bus to enter or exit onto HOTS from the north end of the proposed project is a wise and prudent and responsible recommendation. This recommendation upholds our city's ideals of public safety and neighborhood integrity. It also strengthens the city's commitment to the 2023 Master Street Plan, which incorporates the ideas of encouraging and promoting the use of designated principal arterial roads and freeway expressway routes for vehicles and bus traffic, and it also discourages the increased traffic through established neighborhoods. We would like to add that we appreciate the work of the U of A specifically Vice Chancellor Mike Johnson, and what they've done to address the city and the neighborhood concerns that began to surface as this ordinance came under review. We thank them for their current and hopeful future willingness to work with the city and the west side of campus to maintain and enhance a pleasant, unique area that will continue to serve the needs of the academic and athletic branches of the U of A and the interest of the Fayetteville residents and visitors. We know that the overall plan for the recommendation and development of the Universal Heights neighborhood is not the focus of tonight's agenda, and neither is the project to widen Razorback Road to 4 lanes and multiple sublights. But we believe that there is a relationship between the 3 issues, and if the city wishes to truly understand the possible long-term gains of the master plan and vision for the area. We've lived on the corner of Hotz and Palmer since 1986. My wife has worked at the U of A for 26 years as a research librarian and retired with a meritorious faculty status. My wife and I care very much about the U of A and its students and its educational mission. We are both graduates of the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. We've been athletic season ticket holders since 1977, and we both enjoy and participate in Razorback events. Residing and working close to the university has brought us and continues to bring us many benefits and pleasures. We share a bit of our personal history tonight to illustrate that we do care about the University of Arkansas, and we care about University Heights, the neighborhood, and we care about the city of Fayetteville and have for a long time. Just a few words about the University Heights neighborhood. It does have a park. It has a branch of the White River, the beloved branch of the White River, to quote the mayor. Lots of mature trees, shrubs, plantings, plentiful wildlife, including deer and fox that come in our yard daily. Unique architectural and architect buildings designed by Fay Jones and John Williams. Multiple type housing, not cookie cutter housing. Lots of walkers, students, faculty going to and from the university. Children going to and from the park, dog walkers, the U of A men's and the U of A women's cross-country teams, the Fayetteville High School boys and girls track team, which runs daily up and down Hotz and Markham to assess the trail on Markham Hill. Hog fans going to various athletic events on foot and in cars. This is a lovely and interesting neighborhood that already works in harmony most of the time with the students, faculty, and staff of the University of Arkansas, and neighborhood residents know full well the benefits and challenges of living near the university. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the future area could serve as an attractive asset for the U of A and the city, and possibly include an enhanced Hotz Park, a usable green space corridor along the college branch of the White River, a walking bicycle path to connect the university or Martin Luther King and Porter Road trails, sidewalks for safer walking, which we've already been blessed with and got some of those just, they finished up my sidewalk in my driveway today, the city did. So thank you to the street and transportation folks. Amber lighting on streets, on Hotz Park, trails, and parking areas. We can envision a western Wilson Park. We can envision a western Mount Sequoia if we develop it with the goal of preserving and enhancing the historical, monumentous, beautiful green area that all of us can be proud of. Our neighborhood has already seen an increase in traffic, both vehicular and pedestrian, over the past year as a result of the temporary parking construction used by the U of A and the athletic department. The increased parking, apartment units and commercial establishments on Martin Luther King Drive, the development of Weddington Road, just to name a few. No doubt this pattern of increased traffic and challenge changes what will continue with the Razorback Road projects and the paved parking lots of U of A and the bus activity west of campus. But we believe that careful and considerate planning to matters of egress and design for the approximate 900 parking spaces from the series of parking lots proposed in ordinance vacation number 13-4516 is important to the balanced development and the future of the University Heights area. We hope there'll be a continued opportunity for the public input on design issues, trees, lighting, noise, green space, green buffers, etc., for the areas to be developed by this ordinance. In closing tonight, we pledge that our time and our energy, any way possible that we can help reach compromise between the needs of the university and the desires to preserve a beautiful historical neighborhood. We are happy to help the city and/or the university whenever and however we can as we move forward with this project and future projects. Tonight, we urge you to listen to the recommendation of the Transportation Committee and to vote against any north egress onto Hotz Drive, and I think you all have done that tonight. And again, we thank you for your time and attention and for all the hard work that you do and the city does each and every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak? See, now I'll bring it back to the council. So we need to vote on the change, right?
Yes, and I just want to make sure the council understands that originally planning had worked with the university and come to an agreement for the construction dedication of 2 public streets, and as shown on Exhibit C, and so this new change would say the university does not have to build any public streets in this parking lot. And so I just want to make sure you understand that. Actually, I have one minor change to what my suggestion was. I want to put motor vehicle. There should be no motor vehicle entrance or exit rather than no entrance or exit, because obviously I don't think anybody here wants to restrict pedestrians from any exit there. So that would be what I would propose if that's what you want to do. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that, and also I want to give our Development Services Director an opportunity to weigh in with any comments he might have before the City Council would vote.
Jeremy?
I think we've stated our at least recommendation position on the record before. We made the recommendation for the connection to HOTS based on your all policy of connectivity. We certainly understand the circumstances surrounding each and every connection to any street are context sensitive, so we certainly respect the Transportation Committee's recommendation in this particular case. I think from our perspective, we still support a connection. I think the pedestrian enhancement for a future trail and or pedestrian connection there will certainly be positive and warranted. And I think also leaving it up to the City Council, a future City Council, possibly to open this up to Meadow Drive signal in the future could certainly come back to you all as an item. We believe the neighborhood will want that in the future, but we're not in the future. We're here today, so we certainly respect that decision.
Okay. All right. What comments do we have for council?
Do we need to change the motion
Yeah,
to reflect your new language?
Yes, if so, it would read, this would be condition of approval number 1. There shall be no motor vehicle entrance or exit to HOTS from this parcel now or in the future without express City Council approval in the form of a resolution.
Okay, no motor vehicle entrance or exit onto Haas, basically. Okay, I've got it. Any discussion on that? Okay. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet,
Yes.
Shopmire, Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Okay. Now we vote on it as a whole, correct, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the third, we're all around the third and final reading, I think.
Yeah, we look here. I think so.
Are we not? No, we haven't. Let me ask the clerk. She's the official.
Let's see. Yeah, it was left
Sandra
on the
has
third, it said it
confirmed.
was left on the third reading in December 7th. We're there.
We're there.
So make your comments or.
Well, I'd just like to say that I think this was a very good exercise between town and gown relationships. We listened. I think Alderman Long, when it was first read, he said, hold it, let's talk about this. We all agreed with that. Then I think it would be only fair to point out here tonight that the university came to a Ward 4 meeting, listened to the residents. Thank you, Mike, and your team for doing that. Not only did you come, but you brought planners and architects and everything, and you showed up and showed us very much that the university cares about our town relationship there with town and gown relationship. And then we've listened to citizens on the street. We have two here, the Boddingtons, who have been very articulate in speaking for many residents on that street and in that neighborhood. And I think Alderman Long and I both have had emails and input. I've also met with Jeremy. We've talked about the future. We do think when Razorback Drive is made into a 4-lane, there may come a day where we need to cross over to go north, and we're going to be glad that we can get out of there from that neighborhood in different ways. But for now, thank you, council, for supporting what I think Alderman Long and I really want us to see done, and that is protect our neighborhood from more cars, whether it's 50 or 60 or 70. Right now, let's do everything we can to encourage traffic to go back out to these main roads, Razorback and Martin Luther King and whatever else we can, and see what we can do to train people to use those, and then in the future, we'll see what happens. But thanks to the Boddingtons, and thanks Mike Johnson and the university. You really did show us that you care and you listened. I think you went beyond. Thank you very much. You did a great job. Appreciate it.
Yes.
And I echo exactly what Ron had just said. I think this is a great example of compromise between a neighborhood that is feeling the effects of growth and a university that is dealing with the effects of growth. And it's real easy to throw rocks at the University of Arkansas and say that they are doing things wrong as opposed to celebrating the things that they do right. And I think this proves that they recognize the need for compromise, that they brought an idea forward that seemed to fit as well as we could. There were no perfect ideas, but this is real close, I think, to what we need to do right now, certainly better than anything else. So I want to thank the university. They've proven that they are concerned about sustainability and all the different things that we ask them to do, because we're Fayetteville, and that's what we expect. And we are attached to the university, and they are attached to us. So like many family members, we'll probably squabble from time to time, but at the end of the day, they're about so much more than a football team or a color or something to that effect. They have an impact on people's lives that last for generations, and I want to thank them in this particular sense, in this time, for really showing a compromise position and a leadership position, and just can't thank the university enough, and I think we've come up with something really good for everybody involved, so thank you all.
Anybody? Yes, Alan.
Well, I wanted to echo a lot of the things Rhonda said, and Justin. I think that the university did spend an incredible amount of time, and Mike, you're here. I really appreciate your time that you spent with us. Really showed that the university wanted to be a part of our neighborhood just as much as we're neighbors with you. And I appreciate the Transportation Committee listening to all the concerns and really taking that to heart and hearing from people and making just the best decision or recommendation to the council. And I appreciate the council being flexible and letting us wait a couple readings on this so that we could get to the best solution. So thank you all. I think this is a great solution to the situation.
Okay, anybody? Della.
Yes, and I want to say thank you too, especially to Mike Johnson and his team for his patience in letting us work through this, because it hasn't been easy. And you know, this particular option that we bring forward tonight might seem a little bit drastic, but I think at this particular time, in this particular situation, this is the best way to go for our neighborhood. And I think it's a great example of our working together. And I wanted to listen to Ward 4, especially to Rhonda, Ms. Adams, who lives right there in the midst of these exact streets. And she knows the traffic and the foot traffic and the Fayetteville and U of A track runners who are up there. And I appreciated her firsthand information. So I think this is a great example of our working together, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Any other comments from the council? All right, if there's not. Or did you have something? No, sir. Okay, sorry. I thought you were going to say something. No, sir. Okay. Sorry. All right. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet,
Yes.
Shopmire,
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Okay. All right, item number two. Number two, amend chapter 178, an ordinance to repeal 178.03 sidewalk vendors and enact replacement 178.03 sidewalk vendors and food trucks, and to repeal 178.04 outdoor mobile vendors located on private property, and to enact a replacement 178.04 outdoor mobile vendors located on private property. Did I do all that correctly?
You did.
Good. Now, I understand that
Mayor.
there, yes,
We would like to table this item. It's actually going to the February 5th Ordinance Review Committee meeting. That's scheduled for 5:15 PM at room 326. And so that's actually after the next council meeting. We'd request this be tabled to February the 18th.
okay. Yes.
I certainly think we should table it, but I know that we have a couple members in
Sure.
the audience tonight who'd like to address the full council.
Absolutely, I was going to get some public comment anyway. Okay, before we vote on that, what public comment do we have on this?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Suzanne Clark, and I'm a resident of Fayetteville, but I'm here tonight as the lawyer for the Yacht Club. So my comments tonight are focused exclusively on Section 178.04 for the mobile vendors on private property. As I believe you know, the Yacht Club is located at 617 North College and is probably the primary focus of this section of the ordinance. And with the fact that this ordinance will be tabled and will be given some additional consideration, there are a few things that I'd like to bring to your attention, because as it is currently drafted, this ordinance will put the Yacht Club out of business. So there are three things I'd like for you to consider in terms of how it is drafted. First, I would submit that the coupling or the requirement that these permits be granted to both the mobile vendor and the property owner jointly be decoupled, and I'll get into that in a moment. Also, to ensure that the language imposing obligations on the property owner are reasonable based on the use of the property. And finally, consider whether or not it is appropriate to include language regarding the American with Disabilities Act in this particular section of code. I'd first like to address the issue of imposing obligations on the property owner, because that issue, frankly, implicates the other two. And right now, as that section, it's paragraph C3, as that section of the ordinance reads, it is exceptionally broad and allows the Planning Commission, as a condition of granting a permit to a mobile vendor, to impose requirements for permanent or semi-permanent improvements on the property owner that may include sidewalk improvements, may include requirements for permanent bathrooms, may include requirements for landscaping, etc. I would submit that as it's drafted, it is outrageously broad and essentially at the whim of what the Planning Commission may decide to impose, opens the door to any manner of obligation that will put the Yacht Club out of business. And this isn't speculation. These are requirements that are in discussion currently and obligations that are part of recommendations for variances currently. At the December 9th Planning Commission meeting, there was discussion about what obligations potentially should be imposed specifically on the Yacht Club. It was discussed that permanent bathrooms should be required, which would be an investment of probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $100,000. That puts the Yacht Club out of business. There is a variance that is before the Planning Commission on Monday, and I'll be there as well, that as a condition of granting a variance for one of the mobile vendors to continue for another 9 months is recommended, conditioned on the property owner jackhammering up the concrete around her parking lot and planting trees and permanent landscaping in compliance with the section of the code, 177.05, that is applied to subdivisions and large-scale developments. So what I would submit to you is that a vacant lot with these temporary structures is not the same as a large-scale development. And I know there has been a lot of discussion about that particular issue, and there are, I believe, some commissioners on the Planning Commission who do believe that they should be treated identically. If they are to be treated identically, that it will put an operator like the Yacht Club out of business. If that's the goal, it will be achieved by the language of the ordinance. So that's first, in terms of the whether or not the obligations fit the use of the property. But in terms of how the linkage is made between the vendor and the property owner, again, it is drafted to say that any permit that is awarded would be issued to the property owner and the mobile vendor jointly. And it's perfectly appropriate, and in fact, it certainly should be an obligation of the vendor to obtain the permission of the property owner and demonstrate that they have got the property owner's permission to put their trailer on that particular piece of property. But in issuing the permit jointly, it implies obligations between those two parties that I don't believe are necessarily intended by the section of code. So where you are granting a permit for a vendor who may meet all requirements of the code in terms of whether it's a food vendor on health and safety issues, meeting the obligations of being certain that there is no unfair advantage to the bricks and mortar businesses in the area, the obligations for operation of the vendor permit may be met, but that vendor is then held hostage to what is being imposed on the property owner for permanent changes to the property. Those two parties have no control over what the other one is doing. So to make that permit jointly, is there an implication then that the vendor has some financial obligation to the property owner? Does the property owner have some obligation to ensure that the vendor is performing in compliance with the code in terms of the operational permit? I think they need to be decoupled, frankly, because their interests are different. But most importantly to the property owner, what that does is allow the Planning Commission, each time a vendor comes before the Planning Commission, another shot at saying, let's require some additional permanent improvements. And that's something that actually, I believe, imposes a more onerous burden on a property owner like the Yacht Club. That's not something that we do with the businesses up and down College. We don't get to sporadically come in and say, what other permanent improvements should we require this business to make? But the way this ordinance is drafted, that's exactly what's permitted. Every time a vendor, where the property owner has no interest in that vendor other than the tenancy, every time an operational permit is granted, the Planning Commission has the authority to impose additional obligations up to and including things like permanent bathrooms. So I think those things sincerely need to be decoupled so that we say, is there a reasonable use requirement on the property owner that should be imposed by planning? And does the vendor meet the requirements that the city has imposed in terms of the operational guidelines? The language as it's drafted, I have very concerns in terms of the arbitrariness of how it applies, especially to the property owner. At the December 9th Planning Commission meeting, it was discussed because, frankly, the Planning Commission is operating as if this ordinance were in place in terms of the obligations that are being put on the property owner right now. And there was a discussion that planning required, for the property owner to deed a portion of her property in order for 7 vendors to have obtained their operational permit. Now, one, I have some concerns on the propriety of that in the first place, but we're already past that. It's been done. But planning actually made a recommendation to the commission to say, okay, that's what was required of 2014. Think about what you might want to require for 2013. Think about what you might want to require for 2014. And that on its face, I believe, is arbitrary. And as you know, when we're talking about things being arbitrary, whether it is in the code or whether it is in application, then we are risking operating outside the bounds of the law, and none of us want to do that. So those are some specific things I'd ask that you look at. The language that imposes compliance with the American with Disabilities Act, I frankly have some questions about, because the American with Disabilities Act is federal law that, with all due respect to the council, it applies whether the city of Fayetteville says that it applies or not. So it begs the question of why are we including that language in the code? And I am concerned that there is some as yet unspoken requirement from planning. I don't know if there is speculation about some lack of compliance now that has not been brought to the table, and that's the reason that's being inserted. But if the language is not necessary, it shouldn't be there. It's a risk because lawyers like me assume that when you look at a section of code or statute, that there is a purpose behind every phrase or word that is included in that. So if we have imposed some obligation under ADA, is it intended to be more restrictive than what the federal law is? And if so, as we're making this joint permit, is the obligation for whatever compliance is required on the operator of the business, on the owner of the trailer, on the property owner on which the trailer resides? I think there are some issues that are opened up by including that language in the code that frankly are unnecessary because the federal law governs. And I think it's superfluous to this code and may open some doors that we necessarily would like to keep closed. So those are the primary issues that I'd ask for you to look at with the way that Section 178.04 is drafted. I do think that it is in the interest not just of the mobile vendors and not just of the property owners to allow this sort of operation to continue. It's in the interest of the city of Fayetteville. This little yacht club has been a vacant lot, and that's what it will return to if planning comes and says you've got to jackhammer this up and you've got to plant all these trees. That's a financial burden that cannot be absorbed, and there's no financial model where you make money at that. And frankly, whether I'll let Ms. Morris speak to the operation of her business, but it returns that space to a vacant lot. I don't think that's something that the council wants. I also think it's been pretty wonderful that we've had this little business incubator that has grown 4 businesses now that are occupying brick and mortar spaces in our city. And it's pretty fantastic, I think, that these businesses have grown out of a small trailer, have been given an opportunity to thrive where they may not have otherwise, and are now occupying brick and mortar businesses in our city. So thank you for your consideration tonight.
Matthew, you had some questions?
May I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Thank you. First off, thank you for coming to speak to us. I agree with everything you said. I had a couple follow-up questions, though, to clarify. So some of the things that the Planning Commission has required that I actually think are okay are temporary landscaping improvements. Do you think that crosses the line?
Not at all. Not
No.
at all. And in fact, Ms. Morris, I believe, did temporary landscaping entirely voluntarily. That was something that she wanted to do to spruce up the property. So in terms of that being a requirement, I don't believe that crosses the line at all.
Okay. And the second question is kind of related. It has to do with what exactly is temporary. So I was at the Planning Commission meeting where we discussed the ordinance, and in talking with other commissioners, I know that some of them think that vendors at the yacht club are practically permanent because they don't move every night like a food truck might. Can you explain why we should consider them strictly temporary?
When you can hitch a trailer up to it and move it off and it is no longer an operational business there, it's temporary. It is not a brick and mortar business. It is not something that the owner has invested in as a permanent operation. It literally can be moved off-site in a day. So I don't see how you can call that permanent.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Just one question. In your research and looking at this, is there any other time that we just drive up and down College and say, we think you need to improve your property? Do we have any other examples of that?
No, and that's part of my concern with the language, that paragraph C3 that kind of opens the door to let's decide what we want the property owner here to do. It doesn't reference any specific code, and frankly, I don't see that there is any other surrounding business that frankly right now is under the same requirement. So while the comparisons, I think unfairly have been made to say that this is a business operation that should have to comply with what the brick and mortar businesses are doing, this even goes beyond that and is requiring things that I think those brick and mortar businesses are not seeing. We don't say you've got to show up before planning and we decide if there are some other improvements we need you to make this year.
Mr. Mayor, I want to say first, I agree with many of the comments that Ms. Clark has stated. I will state that the city also has the thing that's most comparable to what the yacht club is a mobile home park. And the city can place requirement on a mobile home park for certain infrastructure improvements in order to be able to have mobile homes placed on the pads and pay rent. Everything must be proportional, though, and I share a lot of concerns with some of the things that have been talked about, especially the restrooms, which seems to be kind of contrary to mobile vending. Most mobile vendors, I don't think, contemplate having restrooms, although certainly if they have food, they need to have a place to wash, but I think that's going to be required by the health department, not us. A lot of this is a matter of degree. They were asked to dedicate, not deed over, but dedicate right-of-way to the city. The city is going to use the right-of-way that was dedicated to build new sidewalks there and to really basically increase the value of their property by taxpayer money to build the sidewalks. And that would have been more difficult if we had not got this dedication. We appreciate the dedication, but I don't think that was really an onerous burden. At this point in time, I do agree that there are problems with the way this particular ordinance has been drafted, and that's why it's up before Ordinance Review Committee. Ordinance Review Committee, I don't think has really talked much about 17804. You've been talking about food trucks instead. I would encourage you to look at 17804 very carefully. There are certainly some things I would like to change in it, and we'll suggest at the Ordinance Review Committee. I hope that you will be there too. I know we don't have a long time because I think some of the members can't stay very long, but anyway, I do hope that this will be one of the provisions that you will be looking at, as well as the food trucks.
That's a quick question.
Justin, and then
Kid, I have a question about your comment about the mobile home parks. There's a RV park in South Fayetteville that I consider a recreational vehicle that you can go in and stay for a week or whatever, different than a mobile home. Do you know, do we put the same burden on the owner of that RV park as we would on somebody with a trailer park?
I doubt it. I'd have to defer to our planning department to really give you the firm answer. I think what a lot of planning commissioners look at when they talk about permanent is not whether it can be moved or not, but whether they are moved. And in fact, year after year, there are these Airstream trailers that are sitting at the lot, some of them with kind of entrances, to them that are more than just sitting there. But of course, I don't know, and they're not exactly the same as an RV, they're not exactly the same as a mobile home. I think they're in between, but I'd ask Jeremy if he knows about what we require, if anything, if there's an establishment of an RV park in Fayetteville.
We haven't seen one in many years. The Planning Commission did approve one several years ago, which was never constructed. But we essentially looked at the traffic generated by that and looked at it as a large-scale development, essentially, street improvements, sidewalks, all of those types of improvements.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask some questions about the way we regulate mobile home parks. Is that a use unit or a conditional use permit, or?
It is a use unit, and it's got its own specific chapter. Most of them are now federally regulated, and so we have very little oversight in terms of the construction thereof. So we don't actually issue building permits for the home themselves because they're all under federally regulated requirements. However, we do any connection to our utility systems, any ADA accessible requirements we do inspect. That's part of our parking code and also part of our building code to ensure that if there are, for instance, an office that manages that park, it has to be ADA accessible. We are the inspectors that actually ensure that that code is met, and that's the intent behind this particular code as well, is to make sure those are compliant. The conversations we've had with the federal government about the ADA regulations state that unless they are ADA accessible, no one from the public can go inside the structure. And I think we've had that conversation a couple of times as well. And that's really the intent here, is to ensure that the property owner is checking with all those regulations to ensure that they're compliant with whatever their business model happens to be.
So, is it fair to say that the council regulates mobile home parks and zoning decisions?
It's both. It's both zoning decisions and development. So you can have a large-scale development that we look at and require improvements. Again, we haven't had one of those since the 70s, I think, but so I haven't had any experience with that, but we certainly have them, and there have been improvements required of them as well as part of the development process. Generally, there aren't requirements for later tenants, I think, which is what the point here is. The improvements are made up front. So much like a retail strip center along College Avenue, each tenant we don't look at for future improvements because the decision was made for those improvements at the time of that, when the use was established and the development was established.
Well, that was exactly the point I wanted to make, because it's to me that if we wanted to treat them similarly to mobile home parks, it's for the property, it's a zoning decision and a development decision, and beyond that, it's just checking to make sure that the vendor is, you know, putting together the right application, that they've gone to the health department, or that they've gotten their business license. And beyond that, I'm not really sure what the city needs to be looking at. I know that there are commissioners that feel differently, but if you go back and watch the video, 7 out of 9 of them were adamant that the ordinance that proposed had these sorts of problems and needed to be fixed. They passed it to us the same night with the understanding that we were going to send it to ordinance review and address these things. So I'm very pleased to hear some of these concerns being brought up in such a clear manner, and I hope that we can get some comments from the council tonight to give ordinance review some direction about where we want to go with this chapter.
If I could make one more comment with regard to the ADA compliance, the accessibility issues under ADA require access that is readily achievable. So in terms of how these businesses operate, the ADA specifically contemplates circumstances where providing that access could literally put that particular business operator out of business, and allows for those exceptions. If that language is included, I just ask that there also be language that specifically says that it is not intended to detract from or remove any exceptions that also exist within the ADA.
Thank you, Suzanne. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Cynthia Morris. I am the property owner of the Yacht Club at College. Back in March of 12, I purchased this as a vacant lot, just as an investment during the recession. I thought, how could you go wrong with a piece of property on College? It's a wonderful city. There were already 3 Airstream trailers on the property when I purchased it. One was Molly Clark with Gray Dog. I believe she got it all started. After I purchased the property, I introduced myself to her and I said, you know, this seems like a good idea. And we had conversations, and she said, well, I really need some improvements made. It's never been cleaned up since the ice storm. I need better electricity. We have no water here. And so what I did is I went about naming the Yacht Club, which is a play off of Land Yachts for Airstreams. I brought in a water meter. There had never been a water meter on the property. Then over time, I have taken the money that I've received from rent and put back into the property for improvements. I've added water, more electricity. We had to do movable landscaping, because when you move the trailers in and out, you might hit regular landscaping. So we've tried to make these improvements, and as people come up and get their new permit, as you know, they get a permit for 90 days that the city planning staff works on. Then at the end of their 90 days, they have to come back to the Planning Commission. It's like an open field day against the Yacht Club every time it comes up. I do feel like I've been bullied. I felt like this last time when I've been able, I mean, most of the improvements there, well, I guess all the improvements, I've really done because I put my name on the project and I wanted it something nice. It's been fun to see people start these businesses. I have had 15 different vendors there over the space of almost 2 years. Only one person has been there over a year, and that's the photographer. And she really just uses it as a workspace, and she needs an address that's a business address for FedEx deliveries and UPS deliveries. Everyone else has stayed a very short time. 4 of the people have gone on to brick and mortar, which is excellent. 2 of them went on because they were able to make that leap after just 3 or 4 months. 2 of them, the City Planning Commission was not going to extend their permit. The flower shop, after their 90 days were up, they were given 2 months to move. They could have moved their trailer someplace else in town, but they didn't know where they were going to move their trailer. They had weddings every weekend. So finally the Planning Commission gave in and gave them 60 days to find a brick and mortar location. And they were able to. But without help of family, there is no way a bank is going to loan anyone money to make this jump from having been in business 90 days, looking at 90 days of financial statements, no end-of-the-year tax returns, and fund them. All of these businesses, the 4 that have moved on to brick and mortar, have had to find unusual types of financing to move on because that is a very short time frame. Some of the people on my lot are tied to students at the university. They can't be here long term. They will be moving on. I have one right now, Low Sweet Treats. She will be moving because her husband will graduate from the university and they moved to Little Rock in May, so I already have her notice. So we have all different kinds of situations, but 15 people have gone through, 4 have gone to brick and mortar, 1 has gone to internet only. The straw that broke the camel's back with me was on Friday, January 10th, I got a message from the city that in order to renew the Soup Girls permit on that Monday night, I had to agree to take up concrete in the front of my parking lot, add trees. I was given 24 hours notice to get this done. I had no time to actually talk to the urban forester to see what they would want. There was no way to get a bid to know what kind of cost we were talking about. And if I didn't say that's okay, then they would not renew her permit. That was also the kind of thing that happened when I deeded the property over to the city. I was given 30 days to get that completed. On Friday, the 10th, January 10th, when I got this notice, I thought, well, I think I need an attorney. I feel like I'm being bullied, and as an adult, you have to hire an attorney. And so that's how I've gotten to this position today. If that has to go forward, you know, this just breaks even. I give my time. I get a lot of enjoyment out of hearing Hawaiian Brian say how great they did, Pigment, Boucher Bistro, New on the Square, and Grey Dog. They are so thankful that they had this chance to start businesses and accomplish their dream. But if every time someone comes up for a permit, I have a couple of people on the City Planning Commission that just love to bombard me with questions, and it's like they're dreaming up, what else can we ask her to do? Then it can't go forward, and we will return to a vacant lot. Because I did buy it for speculation, I look at it as a vacant lot. I hope to sell the lot or build a building for someone someday to rent, and then we'll have to bulldoze all that concrete off of there. It's very old concrete, and there's wet weather springs there. So anyway, that is how I've gotten to this point today. It's up to you how you want the city to progress. But we have filled 4 empty buildings. 1 building that we filled had been empty for 20 years. So, you know, I think we've made the city a better place by having been there.
I guess my question is, so you had a 24-hour notice?
Yes.
Take out your drive and plant trees?
Well, that I had to agree to it. I got the notice on Friday morning, January the 10th.
Okay.
The Planning Commission meeting was going to be that Monday night. That I had a suit person up to redo their permit. So what they always do is when there's a permit up, then they think of what they want to tell me I have to do next. And I thought that was an unreasonable amount of time for me to make a business decision that I would go in and do. I mean, we have no cost. Who knows what that would cost? And two, then they said, at whatever the urban forester decided I needed to do. And so that's when I did retain my attorney to say, what do you do in this situation? I don't know. I feel bad for my vendor. You know, luckily, they did tell her to go ahead and continue in business. But it was a very odd situation. So we did have it tabled, and they postponed it for 2 weeks. But it didn't seem like to me it was just good old-fashioned Arkansas common sense to handle it in that manner.
Mayor, may I ask a question just to make sure we're all
Sure.
clear? What improvements have the planning commission required on that property?
Basically, I have done everything myself so far. I have tried to stay ahead of the curve all the way around. And so I have kept them informed on what I have done. The deeding the 2,000 square feet of my property to the city has been the biggest thing. The other things that have come up is they have gotten in discussions on what kind of awning should be on the trailers, what kind of materials they should be made out of. Should they use the original Airstream fabric and design? And I'm sitting out in the audience and thinking, if they were going to talk about this, we should have, you know, it would have made sense to have a meeting. And so they're always just coming up with ideas off the cuff, right there in Planning Commission, and you're sitting out here thinking, this isn't common sense. This isn't the way a Planning Commission should work. You know, we need to be sensible, and if they want to talk to me about something, let's sit down and talk this through. I'm a reasonable person. I come from the world of business, but there's been a lot of just little micromanagement items that have been very unique, I thought, to our lot and not to other businesses in this city.
We'll look into that.
Okay. Well, it's all on tape, which is great.
Okay, yes, Dale.
So what was it they wanted you to have done by the Monday night? You got the notice on Friday morning.
They wanted me to verbally agree that I would remove 10 to 15 feet of concrete across the front of my lot. I mean, of course, the concrete was already there when I bought the lot, because that's an old parking lot.
And did they give you a reason? Why were you supposed to remove the
Because they're starting to put me under this large development ordinance of the city, like you would treat a shopping center. But I contend that this is really a vacant lot that we're trying to do something fun with until we find the real purpose for this lot. The highest and best use of this property is not a mobile home site. I am just giving my time and energy to these young entrepreneurs to try to help them advance their dreams, and it's really worked for some, so it's been great.
So the concrete and what else?
And trees, permanent landscaping and trees were to be installed. Now, they were going to give me 90 days to get it completed from that Monday night meeting if I had verbally agreed to it, but I did hire counsel and we had it postponed.
Oh, so they were going to give you 90 days after, if you agreed, and you said it was a verbal agreement?
Well, I guess.
Well, I'm just...
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
think
just trying to
so.
get facts
They
here.
took a verbal agreement on the time I deeded the property, that I had to deed the property to the city within 30 days or they wouldn't renew permits also.
Okay.
Deed the 2,000 square feet? How much property did you have to deed to the city?
10 feet off the front of the property and 5 feet on the side with Trenton.
And they just said install permanent, you would have to agree to install within 90 days permanent trees.
Yes, but that would require, I mean, it'd be one thing if I could just plant trees in the ground, but I would have to take up concrete. We don't know what's under that concrete. You know, we don't know if we're talking, number-wise, we don't know what we're talking about. What I have tried to do with this, because it is a vacant lot, and I'm hoping someday it'll all just be bulldozed off, I mean, you know, redeveloped. that I hate to put in improvements that cost a lot more than what I'm just taking in rent. You know, I've just slowly made the improvements as I've had the rent available.
So were any directions given to you about the trees, where they would be, or how many, or?
No, no. It said I would have to discuss that with the urban forester.
But you'd have to agree to, by the time they met on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to address this?
I would like to concur with what I just heard. I'm a mobile vendor. I own Best Freaking Chicken in town, and I'm located right now in the parking lot in front of Midway Liquor, Plato's Closet, that area. And when I filed for my extension and was awarded that by the Planning Commission, which I'm grateful, it was imposed upon me to put in 2 bicycle racks. Now, at the meeting, bicycle racks was the term. You need to put in 2 bicycle racks. So I got online and ordered 2 bicycle racks, good ones that can hold, 6 bikes per rack. And then I never really got anything from the Planning Commission as far as an email to express that what they meant was city-coded bicycle racks, these kind. I got an email, I think it was about 3 days before I was visited by a Planning Commission member. And the email stated, and took a long time to get the email, that I was required to put in city-coded bicycle racks. Well, I had a bicycle rack there, chained up to my trailer, and the councilman said that this isn't the right kind of bicycle rack. And if you don't have 2 bicycle racks within 48 hours, well, actually, he closed me down. He shut me down right then on the spot.
Who did that?
A Planning Commission member.
I'm sure it wasn't a planning commission member. They're volunteers. They
Started
only
to
meet
say-
at the planning commission.
Well,
meetings.
I don't,
Maybe it was a member of the planning staff, is what you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I was shut down immediately, and within 48 hours, I found some bicycle racks, went out there, well, city-coded, and put concrete and installed them myself, and it cost me $350, which I didn't have at the time. And I'm looking around this place, on the both sides, from Fiesta Square on the other side, I was looking at businesses. Plato's Closet just went in. It's a new building. I mean, it's not a new building, but a new business. They weren't required to put up bicycle racks. I'm a little bitty trailer out here. I was required to put up 2. I think within the code it says 25, if you're a business, 25 parking spaces, 1 bicycle rack. Come and Go, right down the road, Township and College has 1. And they asked me to put up 2. There's not a bicycle rack anywhere on the side of Fiesta Square or mine. Nobody's required a brick and mortar to put up a bicycle rack. They asked me to put up 2.
So the planning staff told you to put up 2 when other people were putting up 1. My staff.
Mayor, that's not true. There's a bicycle rack at Hosall Academy that was installed by Tracy Hoskins. And I'm right across the street from where you are.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to have you know that. It's
Okay.
hidden by a bunch of shrubbery, but it's there.
Well, and I did it. I complied, because I wanted to make everybody happy to keep my business open. I just felt like it was just a little bit excessive. And I think there's a rule, too, that if you have 220, I think it's 250 square feet, you get 1 parking spot. I mean, you're given that. My trailer is 8 by 14, and I'm to provide 2 bicycle racks for, all these parking spaces. So to me, it was arbitrary. I was being imposed, something was imposed on me that was a little bit arbitrary. I did it in compliance.
Well, but that's what the ordinance says, though, correct? Right, Jeremy? I mean,
I think the number, I'm not.
I mean, I'm not either, but I'm just saying we wouldn't.
It's likely what the Planning Commission imposed as a condition of approval.
Okay.
It just seemed a little excessive to me,
Okay.
so I'm concurring. I think the bottom line is, as far as the mobile vendor in this town, people like this. I mean, the community of Fayetteville loves mobile vending, and it seems like that the Planning Commission, whomever, is making it so difficult for we vendors to provide for the city of Fayetteville what they love in imposing things that are sometimes quite ridiculous and excessive in order for us to be able to profit.
Now you're talking about the planning commission?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, and you know, you heard a testimony here. I'm somebody, the little guy, who experienced that very thing in my situation. And I really didn't come to complain about that, but since it came up, I concur with this. I think we have to be careful to not be too restrictive to small businesses that are trying to incubate. And I'm bouncing to a brick and mortar in March as well. Thank goodness for the whole incubation idea for small businesses to get started, get up. And so I think the Planning Commission City Council needs to come up with ways to help that process be easier, economically fair, so that we can keep this thing going progressively in our city.
Well, I think that's the reason why we're trying to table this and take it to the ordinance review to look at some of these situations and
This is
concerns.
a suggestion I'd like to make to probably the Planning Commission, the subcommittee, and I attended that meeting last year. It's a great committee. But it would be really nice, I think, to have representation from people like Cynthia, people who have properties, visionaries like that, as well as mobile vendors. Let us, you know, bring us together as a committee. And
All of our meetings are open to the public. I mean, when they meet,
Right.
you can express the same concerns that you're doing now.
Okay.
I mean, your input's welcome.
Well, yeah, and the meeting, the subcommittee, I plan to come to the next one too, just to give ideas and suggest things. Because I think together we can come up with a really good plan.
Yeah.
To hear from mobile vendors, I think, is very, very important too. And
I don't disagree with that. I watched that go on its Transportation Committee a week ago when there was concerns from the neighborhood, and they came in and they expressed their concerns to the Transportation Committee, and I'm sure when this goes to ordinance review, they will welcome the comments and concerns and from the public as well.
Yeah, I trust that you guys are going to make great decisions for us to be able to operate freely and do good business in town, make a lot of people happy. And I'm with you. I just want to express my opinion.
Sure.
Thank you so much. My name's Clayton Scott, by the way.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Who else would like to address us on the tabling? Okay. It's back to the council. Yes, Alan?
I'd just like to let you know that, Clayton, was that your name? Yes. Are you here? We will be having that meeting on February 5th at 5:15, and that will be in this room. So you're welcome to.
This room, 326.
I'm sorry, 326. I looked at it wrong. That'll just be one floor up. So please come if you have.
Sure.
Please do.
Yes, Justin.
And you're also welcome to bring samples of food to the meeting.
Actually, you can't talk unless you do.
That's right. That is a condition of speaking. No. Just, those are long and people get hungry.
And things were going so well.
Yes. I'm sorry to knock us off the track. But I would like to say very quickly, because I know this is going to ordinance review, but I think I'd be remiss without saying that I'm one of the first people to praise our planning commission on occasion for things that they do. This one troubles me. I don't really know what some of it is for. Maybe it's just literally, like Matthew said, to kick it back to us, but to put the word et cetera in anything is disturbing. And to expect business owners to put in permanent bathrooms and treat vacant lots the same way that you treat other things it just bothers me a great deal. A lot of people in this city have told me for years, do something about North College, change the way the thing looks. And if we want vacant lots to be used car lots and wooden self-storage units and things of that nature, then by all means, let's follow the Planning Commission idea here. But I don't want that, and I think this is just a great idea for our city to have these creative places where people can try a business, and if they're successful, move to brick and mortar like you're going to do. There's many examples of it, but this is, to me, a classic case of over-legislating something. We took a very good idea on paper, talked it to death, and now we've thrown multiple things on here that just make no sense. So I'm not you know, I'll say this all again at the ordinance review, but I just had to say that because I think we've just over-legislated this thing to death. And when I say we, it can be me, Planning Commission, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think we need to provide these sort of places for businesses like this. And for business owners, we have to respect that they don't have to do this sort of thing. And there's probably other ways these landowners can make money, and yet we need to make it less restrictive on the business owners, on the landowners, so that they can turn around and help these businesses. So I just wanted that said.
Mayor, just very quickly, I just want to, this is one of the very reasons that we wanted to bring this ordinance forward. The current language that you all have adopted, and I think the city attorney drafted, is much more broad. We were trying to add specificity about what types of improvements. Right now, the ordinance says, when granting a variance, the Planning Commission may require semi-permanent or permanent improvements to the property, period. So that could really be just about anything that they could dream up. So I think that the objective here was to try to add some more specificity, and that was from feedback that we heard from mobile vendors specifically. So I think you're possibly right, it could have been overthought, and certainly part of this process is trying to get something that's more simple. But I just want, in defense of what we've got right now, that's what the Planning Commission has to work with. They're basically just not given a lot of direction with the current ordinance. It's semi-permanent or permanent improvements. And so they're essentially looking at what is out there in other locations, other cities that are required.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
And we should note that, and Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've ever turned down a variance for a mobile vendor permit to have it renewed. I don't remember any of them being turned down. And the only, what you might say, permanent improvement that has been requested was the dedication of the 10 feet of right-of-way along College Avenue. And if this property was ever sold and going to be developed, then it would certainly have to be dedicated at that time. Now it won't have to be dedicated again. In fact, now it'll have a sidewalk built by the city taxpayers along it, so that won't be required of the new owner either, because we will have already done that. So I know there's been some confusion on this. I'm sorry that the frickin' chicken man did not realize when he agreed to the conditions of approval that for the 2 bike racks, that meant 2 bike racks as described by the city code. I wish we would have been able to tell him that and make sure he understood what bike racks meant. But I think that in fairness to the Planning Commission, they have always approved these requests, even though not every member of the Planning Commission has. You know there are members of the Planning Commission that felt like this was unfair to establish brick and mortar businesses, that people were being able to locate near them, sell similar products, and yet with very much less investment. So members of the Planning Commission did feel sometimes that was unfair. But the Planning Commission as a whole always approved these permits. I do agree we do need to look at this more carefully, and I think that there's one more thing that the City Council long ago passed that I had asked them to pass, and that is a provision that if in fact anything that our City Unified Development Code requests of a landowner is more than what should be requested, they have a right to ask the Planning Commission to review that and to reduce the amount that the code would normally ask for to the constitutionally allowed amount, so that people have a right to request a change. But beyond that, I do think that this current situation and the current proposal does need a lot of work. I think one thing I would like the Ordinance Review Committee to consider is that if you are going to put requirements on a vendor's court, which you very well might on some sort of improvements, that seems like it should have the same right as you do with a mobile home court, so that then the individual vendors shouldn't always have to come in and get permits all the time. If this is a mobile vendor's court, then people ought to be able to just go in there and sell just like they would if it's a strip center. So that if you are going to require some property improvements in a mobile vendor's court, which you might want to, then they should be spelled out rather than left to any, just too much discretion. But also, there ought to be a trade-off in favor of the property owner, that if you have a court like that, then you can have somebody come in and they're going to be able to use your airstreams or their airstreams without having to come to Planning Commission and ask permission. So that's something else you might want to consider when you consider a kind of a permanent mobile vendor's court. Obviously, nothing's ever permanent, whether it's brick or mortar or not, but I think that's something I'd like you to consider for your Ordinance Review Committee meeting.
Anything else? Okay. We have a motion and a second to table.
I do not have a motion in a second.
We do not.
Second.
I'm sorry, I thought we did.
No, you do. So moved.
Now we do. Is there any comments on that? Okay, anything from the public else? I'm sorry, I didn't tell everybody I was stopping public comments. Any other comments from the public before we vote? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to
I just
council.
have one question. Could we make it clear here at this meeting what ordinance review, so I'm not on ordinance review, but we have 4 members of the council on ordinance review. The public can come. It's been questionable to me about who speaks there and who comes there and who's invited to participate. Is it?
The normal procedure, although we don't have everything spelled out, is that's really decided by the Ordinance Review Committee. I would hope they would always allow an alderman to speak. They can allow the public to speak if they wish, but they don't have to. It's not necessarily a public hearing. It is an Ordinance Review Committee hearing where you're trying to work on language to try to make an ordinance better. And so you can take public comment if you want. You don't have to take public comments. You can have comments from staff if you want. Don't have to take staff comments. The Ordinance Review Committee members certainly get to speak, and I hope any alderman that would be there would be allowed to speak. And then beyond that, it's really up to Ordinance Review Committee.
Thank you.
If I can add, I mean, I think our rules of order pretty much clarify who can vote at any committee meeting at the discretion of the chair. Any city council member can vote. So I hope that you come and participate.
So did I understand you to say that any alderman can vote, even if we're not on the ordinance review committee?
No,
At
No,
the discretion of the chair.
Discuss. No, I don't think aldermen, only members of the committee can vote. Now,
That's
you
what
can
I
allow,
thought.
you can allow other aldermen to discuss things, but it's not a meeting of the whole.
Right.
It's a meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee. You have 4 members.
Yeah.
It's confusing, isn't it?
Well, we'll have to look at that.
Okay.
I mean, I've never seen anybody vote but the members of that committee.
Right.
Now, their input was welcomed by the council.
Sure.
And they could say, I feel that y'all need to do this, 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 and this. But the 4 members of whatever that committee is the only ones that did the voting. That's the only way I've seen it done.
That's just, I requested a copy of our rules of order from the city clerk a few months ago, and that's specifically in it for committees, that any member of the council can vote at the discretion of the committee chair.
And it matters not to me. I'm just saying I've never seen that done before, since I've been here.
Rules of order can change too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's a little confusing.
Okay, is there anything else? All right.
I have.
Yes.
I talked with Cynthia probably within a week after she purchased the property. I was down there, and we've discussed this. And I think that the bottom line, what we've got to look here is the comment of being sensible and not being over-restrictive. If anyone recalls what was at the corner of Trenton and College, it was undesirable. And now it's very desirable, and it's become a destination in the neighborhood in which I live and in the ward which I represent. And I think that we have this opportunity throughout the city. And in all due respect of what has occurred in this area, that is a perfect model of what we should strive to allow the opportunity as we move forward. And I'm not on the Ordinance Review Committee either, and I'm not sure I can make it to the meeting. But I think that is an excellent model to look at as we move forward and what could happen to any lot to improve an area rather than have a vacancy. So, you know, we've talked, it's been a while, and it seems like it has escalated progressively over that. Was that maybe, I don't know how long ago, 2 years ago? And certainly, if you talk to Molly at Grey Dog, look what she did, or Boucher, or any of these success stories. Let's not be inhibited. I mean, let's not inhibit these opportunities for individuals as we move forward, and let's look at providing opportunity for the neighborhood, for the community as a whole, and recognize it for what it is in a sensible way. That's what I would like to see as we move forward, and certainly what I'll be looking forward to seeing come in front of City Council as we move forward into this revision. So, thank you for what you've done down there, and I also sometimes feel like that there is a bullying aspect to that, whether it's perceived or whether it's intentional or whether it's unintentional. It seems like that is a perception that one could draw, a conclusion that you could draw over the activity. And certainly the very trailer that you and I talked in that day, she did not stay down there because she felt like it was over restrictive, and she went on her merry way. And that was unfortunate because it was a cute opportunity for her. So that's all I have to say as we move forward.
Good points. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tennant,
Yes.
Shopmire, Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along to new business. Number one, ADM 13-4565, UDC Amendment, Large-Scale Development, Parkland Dedication Applicability. An ordinance to amend the definition of large-scale development in 151.01, amend 157.02, 166.01D, and 166.02B, 2 and 3, and to repeal 94.6 flammable and combustible liquids of the Federal Code to clarify what developments are considered large-scale developments. Right. Kit.
Whereas Section 9406, flammable and combustible liquids, needlessly requires that installation of storage tanks for these liquids always be processed as large-scale developments. And whereas the recent adoption of high or even unlimited residential density districts have permitted apartment buildings with extremely high numbers of apartments to be constructed upon less than 1 acre, and so avoid paying parkland fees despite bringing in hundreds of new residents who will need access to city parks and should pay their fair share of park fees to purchase and develop such parks. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amend Section 151.01 definitions of the Unified Development Code so that the definition of large-scale development shall read as follows, quote, large-scale development in development. The development of a lot or parcel 1 acre or greater in size, or the construction of a multifamily building or buildings with 24 or more units. The term development shall include, but not be limited to, the construction of a new improvement, the construction of an addition to an existing improvement, or parceling which results in the need for access and utilities. Section 2, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amends Section 15702 development by enacting a new subsection D as shown below. Subsection D, large-scale development applications that are subject to administrative approval are exempt from the notification requirements of this code subsection. However, they are subject to and shall complete the public notification requirements for a large site improvement plan application. Section 3, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amend Section 16601 development category subsection D, large-scale development, so that it will read as follows. Subsection D, large-scale development. A large-scale development is generally intended for, but not limited to, a non-residential mixed-use multifamily development on site of 1 acre or greater in size, or the construction of a multifamily building or buildings with 24 units where subdivision of land is not proposed. Subsection 4, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amend Section 16602, Development Review Process, B, Public Meetings, 2, Subdivision Committee, and 3, Planning Commission, so that these subsections shall read as follows. Subsection 2, Subdivision Committee. The following development applications are required to be reviewed by the Subdivision Committee: large-scale development, planned zoning district with development, preliminary plat, and concurrent plat. From these applications, the subdivision committee may approve only large-scale developments. Large-scale development applications that are subject to administrative approval shall not be required to be reviewed by the subdivision committee. Subsection 3, Planning Commission. The following development applications are required to be reviewed by the Planning Commission: preliminary plat, concurrent plat, and planned zoning district with development. The Planning Commission may approve, deny, table, or approve development applications with conditions. A planned zoning district cannot be approved by the Planning Commission, but may be forwarded to the City Council. Large-scale development applications that are subject to administrative approval shall not be required to be reviewed by the Planning Commission. And subsection 5, that the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby repeals in its entirety Section 94.06, Flammable and Combustible Liquids, Liquefied Petroleum Gases of the Fayetteville Code.
Chairman.
Council, members of the park staff and planning staff are bringing forward an ordinance amendment to you to amend the definition and applicability for parkland dedication for certain large-scale development applications. Our current code requires certain developments to dedicate land or contribute money in lieu for city parks to offset the impact of new residents on the park system. Generally, we only see those dedications before the Planning Commission with a large-scale development, which is 1 acre or above in size. This particular ordinance amendment would change that definition to still require that process go forward with 1 acre or larger in size, but also include developments that have 24 or more residential units, multifamily dwellings, buildings or buildings with 24 or more units. The purpose of this is that we have seen over the last at least 5 years several developments come through that would meet that threshold. However, they're just under 1 acre. They would not have to be required. Their neighbor that may be 1.1 acres would have a very different impact and be required much more impact fees or dedication of land for that particular project than a project just under 1 acre. We feel that's an issue of fairness, in all honesty, regarding the two developments, and so we felt like this would be a reasonable requirement to allow for 24 units or more to dedicate land or to pay impact fees for the parkland dedication. We also have another change, as I mentioned at the agenda session, entirely separate from parkland dedication. It is something I mentioned several months back with another ordinance amendment that we were bringing forward. And currently, the Fire Prevention Code requires projects, regardless of their size, for all above-ground storage tanks for flammable and combustible liquids to go through the large-scale development process. About all this has accomplished is a lot of confusion at Planning Commission meetings when these come forward. Sometimes they're literally as big as this stage, and yet they're being asked to review a large-scale development, which requires certain things. It requires a tree preservation plan, a survey. There's a lot of expense and time, and we're looking essentially at a large tank, generally on industrial properties which have no other types of standards. I believe the only ones we've seen approved here are also at the airport, so we've not really seen any public uses of these types of facilities. So we would recommend that simply be removed from their large-scale development requirements. Our fire codes and building codes also already cover those reviews, so we do review them, but it's simply under the building and fire codes. The Parks and Recreation Board recommended to you all, and the Planning Commission recommended to you all unanimously, both boards, in favor of this, both of these requests.
Okay. What questions do we have? Any public comment on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council.
Move we suspend the rules and go to the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go to the second reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire. Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend the definition of large-scale development in Section 15101, amend Section 15702, 16601D, and 16602B2 and 3, and to repeal Section 9406, Flammable and Combustible Liquids of the Fayetteville Code to clarify what developments are considered large-scale developments.
Move we suspend the rules and go to the final reading.
Second.
Motion and a second to go to the third and final reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire. Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend the definition of large-scale development in Section 15101, amend Section 15702, 16601D, and 16602B2 and 3, and to repeal Section 94.06 flammable and combustible liquids of the Fayetteville Code to clarify what developments are considered large-scale developments.
Any final comments from the council? Everybody good? All right. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty,
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire,
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, amend 157.04, an ordinance to amend 157.04 of the Unified Development Code to require notification for planned zoning district amendments. Kip.
Whereas planned zoning districts are considered legislative zoning actions by the City Council, amendments thereto should be adequately published. And whereas current notification requirements for amendments to planned zoning districts are only required in certain situations for Planning Commission meetings, and whereas adjoining and nearby neighbors most affected by rezoning actions and amendments thereof should be adequately notified. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, Section 1. That the City Council of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas hereby amends Section 157.04, Planned Zoning District of the Unified Development Code to add the following subsection D. Subsection D, amendments. Amendments to a planned zoning district or portion of a planned zoning district that require Planning Commission and/or City Council approval shall follow the notification requirements as set forth above.
Chairman.
Council may remember a few meetings ago, Councilmember Adams expressed some concerns about the notification requirements or lack thereof for certain PZD amendments. And so she contacted me and we worked together on some amendments to bring forward to you all. This amendment to the Unified Development Code would add a requirement for applicants to provide notifications for the Planning Commission meetings when any amendment to a planned zoning district ordinance comes forward. Currently, most, but not all, are required to notify, and so this would close that loophole and require any amendments to be notified before the Planning Commission. This amendment, we feel, would result in neighbors most affected by a proposed PZD amendment and others that are interested, that may read the paper or see the sign, to be consistently notified of any of those upcoming changes. So staff has certainly supported this request, and I don't know if Alderwoman Adams has anything to add.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I appreciate you so much working on this, very hard on this for me, and Kit too. Thank you. So usually I like to see the things we just did where we repeal and strike through things instead of adding things in, but I do think it's very important. We've seen a couple of examples where this would have been a good thing to have our citizens notified, and I think anytime we can do something to make sure that our citizens are notified of changes that have an impact on their neighborhood, maybe on property values, maybe on quality of life, as recently we experienced, then I think we should do all we can as a city to notify them. And I think we're already doing a good job, but I think this is an opportunity for us to close the loophole and get this notification made in all instances, not just in most. So I'd appreciate the council's support on this amendment.
Any other comments from the council on this? Any public comments? Blake, would you like to comment on this? Okay. All right. I'll bring it back to the council.
I move we suspend the rules, go to second final.
Second.
Second reading.
We have a motion and a second to go to the second reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty.
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire. Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend Section 157.04 of the Unified Development Code to require notification for planned zoning district amendments.
Move we go to the third and final reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go to the third and final reading. Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty.
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire. Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend Section 157.04 of the Unified Development Code to require notification for planned zoning district amendments.
Okay, any final comments from the council? Okay, Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Petty.
Yes.
Tenet.
Yes.
Shopmire. Adams.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Marsh.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Okay, any announcements?
Just two things very quickly, Mayor. As you know, the Municipal League meeting is next week. It's in Northwest Arkansas this time, and so urge you to attend if at all possible. And then lastly, just from a staff perspective, I want to thank all of you, the elected officials. As you heard tonight, the state of the city is sound, and we could not do it without your support, so we certainly appreciate it from a staff perspective, all that you support us with.
Thank you, Chairman.
Ward 1 meeting, Thursday night at 6 o'clock at the Senior Center on College, South College.
Ward 4 meeting Monday night, 6 o'clock, room 111. Is that right, son?
I think
That's right.
Okay. All right, also, any other announcements?
That'd be wonderful.
Yes, Hal.
I would just like to say that today's a special day, and I just want to wish Alderwoman Gray a very happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a great day.
Okay, tomorrow I leave for Washington DC U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'll be there 3 days. So I sit on 2 committees. One is urban housing, and the other one is arts, parks, and tourism. So I'll be attending those 2 committee meetings, and it's always a good learning time for me, and we talk about a lot of different issues. We've got a very, very large agenda this time. So I will come back and give you some sort of report on that. All right. I can't think of anything else, and thank you all for your attendance tonight and all your comments. All right, we're adjourned.